Today we are learning about solving equations with variables on both sides. As usual, there is a video guide to go along with this, so if you haven't printed it, go ahead and pause, print the video guide, and come back. Looking at this equation, 5x equals 4x plus 6. As always, I like to draw my line through the equal sign to show the two sides of the equation. What's different about this from what we've done before is that I have an x on the left side as well as the right side of my equal sign. And we're going to talk about how to solve equations that have an x or m or whatever the letter is on both sides. So if you think about this, 5x actually just means that there are 5 x's that we are adding together. 4 and 5. Okay, so I'm going to break it up a little bit. 4x means that there are 4 x's being added together. Now, if you remember what we talked about when we first started talking about equations, we said that both sides had to be exactly the same. They had to be balanced, okay? So, if we take a look at this equation, what I'm going to do is start removing x's. I'm going to remove one x from the left side, but to keep it balanced, I have to remove an x from the right side as well, okay? And I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to remove an x from the left side and remove one from the right side, keeping it balanced. As long as I do the same thing on one side that I do to the other, we're fine. Do it again. Take an x away from the left side, take one away from the right side. Take an x away from the left side, take one away from the right side. My final amount is that x is equal to 6. And that's my answer. X is the same thing as 6. Now if we go back to the original problem and look at what we started with, 5x equals 4x plus 6. To get from 5x to this essentially would be a 1x. We don't put the 1 there, but we can. To get from 5 to 1, we would subtract 4 x's. 5x, take away 4x, we took 4 x's away, gives us our 1x, or just x. Well, we did the same thing on the right side. We subtracted 4 x's. 4x minus 4x is 0 x's, which is the same thing as just 0. If you don't have any x's, we just have 0, and we don't have to write it. If it's 0, they cancel out. I'm left with 6. So the way that we are going to solve equations with variables on both sides is to cancel out one of the x's, okay? And we always cancel out the x term, like the 4x, that's not alone. See how the 4x and the 6 are on the same side of the equation? So the 4x is the one that I want to cancel. I don't want to cancel the 5x because it's already by itself. So it just makes sense to get the 4x with the 5x so that they're on different sides of the number. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So let's take a look at number 1 on the video guide. We have 5x equals negative 28 minus 2x. Draw my line through the equal sign. I have an x on both sides. I want to get them together. Remember, we want to cancel the x that is not alone. The 2x is with the negative 28, so the 2x is the one I want to cancel, not the 5. So to cancel out a negative 2x to make it 0, I'm going to add 2 x's. Do the opposite. Now whatever you do to one side, we need to do to the other, so add 2x. 5x plus 2x gives me 7x equals negative 28 just comes down, and my 2x's cancel out because they're opposites. From here, to solve for x, we just follow the rules that we learned before. This is 7 times x, so the opposite would be divide. I'm going to just divide both sides by 7. Negative 28 divided by 7 is negative 4. So x equals negative 4 is our solution. Number 2, we have 3m plus 32 equals 7 not by itself. So this time, the 3m is with the 32 on the left-hand side. The 3m is what we need to cancel because it's not alone. It's with the 32. So to cancel out a positive 3m, we would subtract 3m from both sides. 3m minus 3m is 0, so they cancel. 32 equals 7m minus 3m is 4m. Again, from this point, we follow the rules that we learned before. 4 times m, to get them to separate, we divide both sides by 4. 32 divided by 4 is 8. 4 divided by 4, those cancel, and we're left with m. 8 equals m. For the next two, go ahead and try those two on your own. So you can pause the video, try those two problems, come back, and you can take a look at your answers. Okay, so problem number 3, we needed to solve for a. You should get that 5 equals a. If you didn't, go ahead and pause, check your work with mine. All right, for number 4, we're solving for y. You should get y equals negative 6. Again, go ahead and check your work at this time. We are going to do the next two problems together. Taking a look at numbers 5 and 6, you will notice that these two problems are a little bit different from the ones that we just worked on together. So if we take a look at number 5, we have 8x minus 18 equals 3x plus 22. Now the difference here from what we did before is that neither letter is alone at this point. Before we had to figure out which one was by itself and then we moved the other one to it. This time, because neither one is alone, it doesn't matter which one you move. Now, with that being said, I always move my letters to the left side because that's where I'm used to seeing them. Almost always they put the letter on the left, and so that we get very used to seeing the letter on the left-hand side. So I would suggest keeping with that. But if you want to move the 8 over to the 3, that's fine. I'm going to move the 3 though. This is a positive 3x. To cancel out a positive 3x, we're going to subtract 3x from both sides. Make sure you put your x's together, okay? Don't combine the 3x with the 18, all right? The x's go with each other. So 8x minus 3x is 5x minus 18 equals 22. Once the letters are together on the left-hand side, I move the numbers over to the right, okay? So the minus 18 needs to be canceled. To cancel out a minus 18, the opposite would be plus 18 on both sides. The 18s cancel. I get 5x equals 22 plus 18 gives us 40. Once we get here, our last step is to divide. 5x equals 40. Divide by the 5 on both sides. The 5's cancel. We get x equals 8. Now, this is the most steps that we've had to do in a problem so far. So if you're getting a little confused as to what step to do first, I would suggest writing off to the side the steps that you need to follow. Step number 1, move the letters to the left. That's the first thing we did. We want to get those letters together first. Step number 2, I moved my numbers to the right. And last, our step 3, we divide. Okay, so if you follow those 3 steps, you should get to the right answer as long as you do all your math correctly. So let's take a look at number 6 and follow the steps that I've written down for us. Okay, let's take a look at our last problem, number 6, together. Our equation is 2y plus 17 equals negative y plus 5. If we take a look at our rules over to the side, our steps that we're going to follow, step number 1 tells us to move the letters to the left. 2y is already on the left side, so I don't need to move that. But my negative y is on the right-hand side. I need to cancel that out. Now remember, if there's just a negative sign and there's no number in front of the letter, there is a 1 there, they just don't write it. So this is actually a negative 1y, and if you need to, go ahead and write that in. So to cancel out a negative 1y, to do the opposite, we must add 1y to both sides, positive 1y. So 2y plus 1y gives us 3y plus 17 equals, my 1y's cancel, and I have 5 on the right side. Step number 2 tells me to move my numbers to the right. Well, if I take a look at the left-hand side, 17 is my number, and it needs to move to the right side, so I need to cancel the 17. So to cancel out a plus 17, we do the opposite, which is subtract 17 on both sides. So my 17's cancel. 3y just comes down. 5 minus 17 is negative 12. And then lastly, step number 3 tells us to divide. So if I divide, I need to divide by 3 because that's what we want to cancel. So divide both sides by 3. I get y equals negative 4 as my solution. At this time, go ahead and pause the video. I'd like you to try the last 2 on your own and then come back and play it. You can take a look at your answers. Okay, the last 2 problems you were to do on your own. For number 7, you needed to solve for w. If you followed those 3 steps, moving the letters to the left, the numbers to the right, and then dividing, you should get w equals 7. And then for the last one, number 8, 10x plus 8 equals 8x minus 2. Again, follow those 3 steps that we talked about, and you should get that x equals negative 5 for your solution. And that is the end of our lesson on equations with variables on both sides.